Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. A results roundup video, 3 different fights that I wanted to cover in this one because there's some interesting things about all 3. First though, what we'll do is we'll start with Bakhodir Jalolov, and then we'll talk about Jeremiah Milton, who was on the same card, and then remember the name Lazizbek Mullojonov. So this is a guy who's been the only guy to beat Bakhodir Jalolov in the amateurs in the past 5 years, and he's starting to make a little bit of a noise, a little bit of a name for himself in the pros. Still really early on, but is certainly a name to remember because I think he's going to make some noise in the coming years. But Bakhodir Jalolov, the Olympic gold medalist who's been going between the pros and the amateurs, who recently signed on a promotional contract with Top Rank, had his first fight on ESPN. So really early on the card, and he was facing Onoriode Ehwarieme, and this was all business. Over in the first round, lickety split. That left hand from Bakhodir Jalolov, 6'7", southpaw with power, and he knows how to land that left hand. Dangerous. So he dropped Ehwarieme 3 times. The second knockdown was absolutely brutal. Ehwarieme just basically collapsed to the ground. It wasn't sort of falling back, it was just going down. So good performance from Bakhodir Jalolov. Didn't waste any time, just did his business, in and out, collects the payday and moves on. And when you consider that Top Rank has a bundle of recently signed heavyweights, including himself, Lazizbek Mullojonov. You've got Jared Anderson there, Richard Torres, who Bakhodir Jalolov beat at the Olympic final. You've got some other heavyweights there in and around that they can match Bakhodir Jalolov with on the way up. Guys who they can bring in, veterans. Obviously, the Top Ranks work with Carlos Takam. There's a whole bundle of guys either on the way up or who can be matched together or in other good fights. Top Rank's got a pretty decent stable, and the addition of Jalolov to it is very good. It gives them, some decent audiences to open up in different places around the world, but they can make some matchups. And you can kind of go at some point in the next 3 or 4 years, the likes of a Jalolov in a fight with Anderson, Jalolov with Torres in the pros. You have some of these potential matchups, Makhmudov against some of these guys too, potentially. As we know, Top Rank also has a piece in Tyson Fury, but who knows what's happening there. But good work from Jalolov, in and out with a minimum of fuss, and he looked good in the process. And maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity for Jeremiah Milton on this undercard. He was facing Craig Lewis. Lewis has been very durable in the past. Very few guys stop him. I said on my Twitter ahead of this one has rounds written all over it. But it did look like Lewis, who was maybe a little bit out of the usual sort of shape that he's been in previously in years gone by, did look like he was going to sort of be stopped at some points in the fight. But bit of a missed opportunity for Milton, not able to finish him. Had him ready to go by the looks of it in rounds 4, 5, and especially round 8. And just wasn't able to keep pouring it on and get him out of there. When he was punching in combination, Milton looked dangerous, and when he was throwing his jab, it was landing with regularity. But his corner kept calling out, keep throwing the jab, keep working, 1-2. I think that was one of the things that Lewis was finding it hard to sort of just deal with the pace in general of the fight. But Milton just needed to just ratchet it up just a little bit in terms of the activity. Probably could have got Lewis out of there, but obviously coulda, shoulda, woulda. And he was fighting at home crowd, who was obviously behind him. But it was an opportunity. If he could have stopped Lewis, he would have looked good against the likes of, Junior Farr, Jermaine Franklin, Carlos Takam, all who couldn't stop Craig Lewis or put a huge dent in him. Whereas, obviously, on this one, you had Jeremiah Milton landing with regularity. The jab was money when he was throwing it, and when he was, throwing 1-2s or, some of the looping shots, and especially when he was punching in combination, he was looking dangerous, and Lewis, was trying to really just hang on and survive. He was shaken up multiple times in this fight. And as we know, for heavyweights, getting a stoppage, getting that highlight reel finish, that can really do wonders for you. As it was, Tim Bradley, who in Milton's last fight had actually said he didn't want to see Milton again. And he was on the call in terms of the general card, but for this fight with Milton, he did not, do commentary duties. So obviously some decision, he was like, well, I'm going to follow through on that. And if Bradley had been commentating, I'm sure he would have been going in again saying he could have done a bit better. And I think from that perspective, bit of a missed opportunity, because he probably was their Lewis for the taking, especially in those 3 rounds that I noted. And then moving on to Lazizbek Mullojonov, who was on this Usyk Dubois card. He was facing Nursultan Amazholov. Amanzolov has been in Alexander Usyk training camps for a couple of years over the Joshua fights. This one as well, I believe, for Dubois. He's been a guy who sparred with a number of decent heavyweights. He's had sparring with Joshua as well. He's an older fighter, though, at 30 in terms of, he's only got half a dozen fights. So, he needed this fight probably to help kickstart his pro career. But he walked straight into Lazizbek Mullojonov, who is one of these guys, I think it's way under the radar at this point, but remember the name. So 24 years old, 6'3", southpaw, and he can box, he can move. Reminds me a bit of Zan Kosabutsky, actually, and really does have some pop in his punches. And he put it on Nursultan Amazholov and got the stoppage in the first round. So I only caught the highlight of the stoppage, so I didn't see the full action of whatever happened in the round. But, I wasn't surprised, because Lazizbek Mullojonov is a guy who I think is going to make waves. But he's a prospect. They're going to have to build him up. Don't know his promotional situation. But he was on this card, so it's a shame he wasn't a little bit higher up, because it would have been a better opportunity if he was sort of mid-card, just to make that sort of statement. But it's a good win. He moves to 4-0, and at the moment, 4-0 with 4 stoppages. There's a lot to like about Lazizbek Mullojonov. Anyway, wins for Bakhodir Jalolov, Jeremiah Milton, maybe a bit of a missed opportunity for him, and another first-round stoppage for Mullojonov. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.